What was the contribution of the Americans to Moruga?
The contribution of the Americans to Moruga, number one, would be this estate, which was one of the richest estate and most prosperous estates in Trinidad, the Herrera estate, and by extension, Trinidad and Tobago, and also one of the, many people of American descent has contributed to Trinidad by education, development, the Baptist religion being set up here, also the agricultural development by bringing their labor and their skills to the estate plantation. They knew how to take care of horses, they knew how to fall trees, they knew how to take care of, to turn the wood into board, and even make really good stuff out of that. So all of that would have contributed in the early times, as well as in recent times. The Americans also established their own secondary schools, their primary schools, their Baptist religion, and so on here. And the Americans still continue to be in places of office, lawyers, magistrates, politics, and so on.
Besides Cowan, Hamilton, what other school did they establish?
Well, some of them also they have the Anglican school, which are, although it's an Anglican dominated, but those people the teachers are American. Then you also have the Fifth Company Baptist Primary School, which is a very large school, big school population of over 300 students, approximately. And then many of those same American students are in the St. Stephen's Anglican School also. And then you also have some of the Ashjars and the Muslim schools, which again, many of the American students are also there. And also right here at the Moruga Composite School.
And for those who don't know, what is the Americans?
The Americans were the African Americans who fought in the 1812 war against America. For the
on
British,
the side of the British.
Right, under the British flag. And were promised their freedom and were promised land, 16 acres.
And a mule.
And a mule. If they fought on the British side. Whether they win or lose, once they give their allegiance and their alliance to the British monarchy, would be granted that. And so they were granted those lands, not in England, not in America, in a far, far away place called Moruga. So many of the American settlement, many of the companies were here in Moruga and are here still. And many of those people still aren't sure of their identity today. And they live impoverished life, many of them still. And that's something that we have to work with and liberate, helping them be liberated internally, that they grow to self-realization and have a greater sense of self-worth to be able to be truly successful.
Are you a descendant of American?
I'm also a descendant. I also have American descent on my grandparent, on my paternal side. And I also have artifacts which were used by my great-great-great-grandfather, who was American in America. And that was a violin from the 1700s, which was given to him to play for his slave master, and he got to keep it. And so that was passed on to several generations until it got to me. And then I sent it back to the States to have it authenticated.
At the Smithsonian?
With one of the specialists from the Smithsonian universities. Museum, sorry.
In Moruga, there's the first, third, fourth, fifth, sixth company. What happened to the second company?
The second company, it's alleged that they were probably lost at sea. However, based on recent research and more, comprehensive research, it is alleged or it is hypothesized that they were settled in other parts of the Caribbean, not in Trinidad here, possibly in St. Vincent or Jamaica.
Could they possibly be sent to Nova Scotia in Canada?
And some of them were sent to Nova Scotia in Canada directly from America to Nova Scotia. And that's also part of my lineage, where my great-great-grandfather was settled over in Nova Scotia. And then my great-grandfather came over from Nova Scotia to go to the Caribbean. He became a Navy merchant so that he would be able to trace his family wherever they were in the Caribbean. And so he found his sisters and so on. When he found his sisters, then he found my great-grandmother, who was of Amerindian descent, Amerindian and British descent, right? And so they married and came over to Trinidad and settled up here. And that's how I'm here now in Trinidad.
Came over from where?
From St. Vincent.
All right, thank you so much, Eric Lewis, the Prince of Moruga.
Thank you.